Hello, everybody. This is Monica Paolini from Sensafili, and I've been doing research and a report on the Open RAN ecosystem. And as part of that, I had the pleasure to talk to Sidd Chenumolu at Dish. He is the Vice President of Technology Development. And I have the pleasure to talk to him about what are the latest in terms of really deploying Open RAN. So we're not talking about specifications, interfaces. We're talking about real Open RAN in a commercial network. So Sidd, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, thank you, Monica. Great to be here.
So everybody knows who Dish is and that is working on Open RAN, but maybe you can give us a quick update of what is the latest in terms of your network and the Open RAN within it.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. As Monica said, we are probably the only operator in US right now is deploying completely Open RAN from the ground up, and it's completely 5G standalone. So we don't have 4G, no legacy, completely open. And the more important part is that we are not just Open RAN, we are cloud-based in the sense that it's a hybrid cloud deployment, the first of its kind. We are heavily on both the AWS and private networks, which is on VMware. So what we are is actually a software-first telco-second company, and where we focus a lot on not only on the openness of the solution, but also on the scalability and elasticity of the solution itself. And right now we are obviously in the middle of the deployment, and there's public news that we have met our 20% milestone and well on way to be the 70% milestone for the US POPs by June of next year. But again, obviously that's the first step for us. We are a service provider, and we want to be in the connectivity business. So Open RAN is the gateway for us in terms of programmability and flexibility, openness, disaggregation, to try out new things, to offer the services that are envisioned by 5G and ability to deliver them.
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations on meeting this important deadline. And it's all very exciting. And before we get into the details, you mentioned Open RAN and Cloud RAN as well. So we often think about Open RAN as being open front haul interface, but there's more to that. So maybe you can tell us what is Open RAN for you in terms of sort of the big picture. It's not just the front haul interface. What else is there?
Absolutely. And by the way, I don't want to discount the front haul interface. It's a giant step for the industry, right? The first time we're able to do that. And again, just for the viewers, we have radios that are multi-band in the sense that they're dual and triple band, and that we have achieved Open RAN front haul interface with them, which is a great thing. But again, that is a part of the Open RAN, as you said. The biggest picture for us is what the RIC is, in the sense that what does Open RAN mean, and what does the programmability that comes with the openness of a solution come? That is the big story here, in the sense that that's where I think the industry is moving towards. And that is where we see the big difference, where it's not just about the components, but what you do with the components to offer a service. So it's like overlaying your use case, your services, and transforming your network to meet them, the programmability aspect. That's what Open RAN allows us to do, the software allows us to do. The second part is definitely, we like to know what our network is doing, how it is deployed, how it is scaled, is it cost efficient, can we do more with it, what things like that. Now, with Open RAN, again, it's not in the specs, but the right way to deploy Open RAN is being cloud native, because this is also the new thing that's going on. It's the latest Kubernetes-based deployment. We believe a lot in the deep observability of the solution. We like to know exactly everything, become the most efficient network out there. So by deploying in the cloud and leveraging the benefits of cloud solution that's out there, which is widely used by wider industry in general, right? Less on telco side though. So now we're bringing the telco closer to the cloud, and we're leveraging the benefits of the cloud to get a deeper insight into the telco, how to program it, how to make it efficient, and how to automate that. So that's where we are.
So, okay, let's talk about this for a second, because sometimes people, everything is cloud native, good. But some people say, from a RAN perspective, is that going to reduce the performance? And clearly you're looking at optimizing performance and the efficiency of the network. What would you say to people that say, well, you cannot really have, it's not going to be as as efficient, or the performance is good, you're not going to have performance parity compared to traditional RAN?
So I think it's too early to say, number one, because we just got started with Open RAN, and now the first step is we're running it on a general purpose compute with accelerators, right? And at the same time, you cannot compare with something that has been there forever, a solution that has been optimized over the years to do a single purpose only, right? Is the customized solution more efficient? Probably yes. They are more efficient because they have been honed, optimized for a single purpose. Will Open RAN get there? Yes. But will it be using the existing compute? I can't say, because not only the software is evolving over months and years. They're cloud native, it could be something else tomorrow. But at the same time, you see the silicon is also growing. Silicon is not at standstill. Now, what Open RAN allows us to do is that we are benefiting the growth, the parallel growth of software and the hardware at the same time, to create a solution out of it, which has never been done before. Previously, you were still at the mercy of a black box, which was giving you a single optimized solution as they seem fit. Now, that's not the case. It's not a one size fits all anymore. Now you are creating a solution that is the right size, right solution for your needs, for one's need. It's not like I have to use the same box everywhere. It can be small box, large box, bigger box, whatever, t-shirt size the box. And you can use the underlying compute also. Today is x86, it could be GPU tomorrow, smart NICs, DPUs, anything you want to call that. The silicon is evolving. So, but at the same time, can Open RAN use the silicon of existing black box vendors? Absolutely. Because again, Open RAN is about the interfaces, right? I can swap some of the compute, what we're using today, with the updated compute tomorrow, and that can come from existing vendors. There is no limitation, contrary to many people believe. This is about flexibility and choice an operator has.
Yes, and so if you have flexibility and you can choose how to optimize, you can do better in theory because you have more choices, depending on what your needs are.
Absolutely.
And so that is
programmability on the top.
now on the downside of that is that you have more choice, more flexibility, and more control over what's going on. But that means also more work for you as an operator, because what used to be, as you say, a black box is now no longer black, but you have to spend the time and effort into looking into it. So what does that mean for you?
Absolutely. The more choices, I think, simply put, Monica, I think referring to more integration touch points.
Right.
That is definitely challenging. I think in general, industry is working through that one. You see a lot of initiatives from the US government and other people, OT labs are coming up, which are working to alleviate the pain, right? So that you not only have new entrants coming here, but also giving them ability to integrate and not suffer through high cost for that. We definitely believe in that, in sharing and all this stuff. I think over a period of time, we would settle into more of a rhythm, in the sense that where industry will converge into. Right now, we have quite a few solutions. And by no means we should limit the industry in that. Right now, we want to see everything that's out there. But due to economics or the way the use cases are evolving, and eventually where 6G leads to, right? Your pipeline will become more manageable. And then we would have figured out the right way of utilizing the APIs, which is widely used, and then reduce our overall integration time and cost. But I think that should not be the reason the integration should not be the reason to limit the choice right now. We definitely need more options, because everyone is trying to find their way about the right use cases for 5G.
Absolutely, yeah. And but at the same time, clearly, in order to make sure you have this sort of a flexibility and choice, it's work in progress. We have to, we have to realize that. So how is that going? I mean, clearly you don't have the same maturity or the same simplicity that if you have an integrated network, vertically integrated network with just one vendor. So how do you see that going? Is, again, you don't have the same maturity of traditional RAN, and it couldn't be otherwise.
Yeah.
How far are we gone, you think?
So I mean, I have a slightly different view. I don't think we are technically challenged in the sense that I think technically we all understand, industry in general has a good understanding the challenges and how to overcome that. What is not clear right now is the people and processes, in the sense that most of us, including myself, we all come from a legacy telco background, right? It's hard for us to initially unlearn the ways of how it has been done. And it's equally hard for us to not refer back and say, hey, it was been done that way, can we use it, right? So, and the process as to how to do this, we're actually at this, we're writing you can write the cookbook as we are deploying the network. We are finding many things that we thought were simple, like a simple stuff like a management. We thought, hey, it's straightforward, defining the specs, how hard could it be? But it's not the case, right? The small nuances we find and we adapt to it. So we are not only writing the process cookbook as to how to deploy an Open RAN while we're doing at the same time, but also we're also trying to train our own people and as industry in general to start thinking the new way and not fall back to the decades old way. So
Yeah,
both are challenging.
Well, and I think that, as you point out, this is more than technology. It's really our own background of everybody. And it's not just operators, it's vendors as well.
Yep.
It's just a completely new way of doing it. One thing quick question on, do you see that being, the need to integrate and put everybody together? Is it going to be a system integrator that happens at the operators level, or do you see someone like 3GPP getting involved into this? Or is it because, networks already are multi-vendor, so you already have to do integration anyway.
Yeah.
So is there any specific that you think that with Open RAN you need to have like the GPP?
That's a very good point, actually. So you're right. Traditionally, all telcos have been multi-vendor, right? And the demarcation point has been defined by 3GPP. So that's clear. With Open RAN, it can be, obviously Open RAN has defined the interfaces to the RUDU and they're working on the RIC interfaces. So industry will converge on that, because if I go back to 3G days or even early 4G days, I knew that even the interfaces were specified in 3GPP. It took us a while to do interoperability, but over a period of time, the timeline declined. Same thing we'll see with Open RAN interfaces too, where as industry gets more exposed to it, there's a standardization, there's always a change request process going back to the specs to modify it, and they update it. Industry does that, because even right now, I know release 16 CRs are going on in 3GPP. It's a process, there's a long tail to it, but we will get there. I think what is different in this case is just not the interfaces. As I said, this is also like a software now, right? So industry has to also to converge on like, what is the right way to write the software to benefit the compute? That is not defined in any specs. This is where industry has to come together, because now we're talking about a specific implementation. And one thing that 3GPP or anyone does not do, SDOs, they don't specify an implementation. That is left to the industry to find the right way to do on that particular time. So we are seeing some projects coming through, like there are several projects. Google just launched a Nephew recently that talks about lifecycle management and how to manage telco applications on the cloud. So things like that would come through, and there'll be standardization, industry will follow. And that's how we achieve better integration. To the point, today operators do it because there is no single SI who understands the landscape. We are doing it. Actually, we are our own system integrator. We do rely on our vendors to help us because of the experience and people. But over a period of time, will there be a third-party integrators? Probably yes. As it matures, you would see a group of integrators who can come into the market, who can simplify the solutions for the operators.
Yeah, and then I guess there is a lot of learning that it's actually quite exciting to see how that's working. Now, let me ask you a question about the hardware, and then we can talk about more about the software part. For the hardware, the initial idea with Open RAN and basically with cloud native is that you can get off-the-shelf hardware, but then there is also an increasing availability of solutions which are purpose based. They're optimized for this. How do you see that? Because can you just go and get any hardware, or do you want to have optimized hardware?
But that's a good point. That's a good point, right? So, number one, I think that is the beauty of Open RAN. I would say this, right? You can use all three, in the sense that if your application does not require an optimized solution, you have a less demanding bandwidth requirements, you can use a general purpose non-optimized solution. If you have a demanding application where you have a lot of MIMO layers, etc., then you can use the purpose-built hardware. Obviously, the operators have a flexibility to choose what makes sense for them and where it's applicable to. Because you may say, if you're doing a private networks, right, you may want to avoid much of the purpose-built hardware because you want to stay within the ecosystem of existing IT organization where they want to manage multiple applications and they are used to certain hardware type. But maybe for an operator to deploy their own network and high capacity sites, you want to use a purpose-built hardware to meet the high demands because it's more cost effective. So that's the choice we have. It's not like one versus other. Think of them both are in our toolkit, and we just adapt to them.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of in line, and that's really the beauty of the flexibility and the choice is that you can see what are the trade-offs in terms of Actually, can you tell us what do you think there are the trade-offs in terms of all-purpose versus optimized or customized hardware?
It's kind of very hard to say, right? Because there is a whole evolution of the hardware-based solution that are evolving right now. They're not available in the industry. We have early information, but I think obviously any purpose-built hardware is more power efficient. That's like given. I don't think we're in a position to exactly compare X versus Y and say this is better versus this is better, because again, this is a function of the use case also and deployment. It's not just a unidimensional, right? So I think it's probably too early to compare one versus other.
Yes, and like I said, that whatever you decide today might not be the same that you're going to decide in 5 years, and that's the whole point, right? Now, you mentioned the RIC several times, and that's kind of a hot issue in Open RAN. Do you need it? How important it is, and how do you go about it?
Number one, we absolutely need RIC, because that is the beauty of a platform that can host multiple applications, that controls the intelligence and operations of a network. That's like never been done before. But what it does is that you have just opened up your network and your ability to consume intelligence of hundreds and thousands of engineers out there who can write application. It is like today we have a smartphone. We may have an application that is ordering food, right? As someone else comes up with a better application, what do? We delete the old one, put the newer one, and get the benefit of that. That's exactly, think of it, Rick, as the same way. Today I have an application written by very smart people who can do my mobility management. Guess what? 1 year down the road, there's a newer company that comes with a better algorithm. So I remove it, add that one up. That's how simple we want it to be, so that we're always leveraging the best of out there. Not only just hardware and software, but people, their brains too.
Okay, but I guess that sort of conceptually you can have, and actually, let me ask you a different question, which is in the number of vendors. And I don't want you to, it's not, there might be confidential information here, but in general, if you have, the more vendors you have, the more complex your network is. So again, there is a trade-off. And so how do you go about deciding this as a sort of as a higher level? At which point you say, well, that's too many vendors, we don't want to have any more, but one vendor is not enough. How do you go deal with that?
I don't think there is a simple way to describe at what point we say we should not do any more vendors. I think the more is that at what point your flexibility to do faster releases go down. That's when you say, okay, I can't do any more release management. I can't do enough integration within X amount of time. And each operator may have different X amount of time they want to do the cadence, right? If I'm at a point where I'm not able to do constant releases, constant updates to my network because I'm not able to complete my integration tests, that is when I decide, okay, I have to put a stop to it. Until I'm not hitting that point where it's not slowing the releases ability for me to give new features. I don't think there's a reason to stop right now to explore.
Yeah. Do you see that, some operators are sort of going to the, Open RAN, but very few vendors. So do you see that the number of vendors will increase over time? So to get started, it's going to be easier to manage fewer vendors, or how do you think it's going to go?
Absolutely. I think, over a period of time, I do think there would be a more tight relationship between Open RAN and 3GPP, or maybe some of the Open RAN aspects can be part of 3GPP in the future releases. When that intercept point happens, we would see a lot more collaboration and wider adoption. Right now, there is still some resistance, but it's inevitable. Will it take 1 year, 2 years? I can't say that for sure how long the standard process, but it's going to happen.
Yeah. Now, I have many more questions for you, but I don't want to take too much of your time. But in closing, could you tell me, you've been in telecoms for a long time, so this is nothing new for you, but if you were to say, what is the most exciting thing about Open RAN and what is the biggest challenge, what would they be?
Well, I'll start with the biggest challenge, right? Biggest challenge is aligning the roadmaps and the feature parity across different components to make sure how they're working together, integration. Okay, that is the challenging, it's a process. The most exciting part for me is that for the first time, I can decouple software and hardware innovation and not be limited by one over another. It is like they go parallel. I don't have to worry about. So that has never happened before.
Yeah. Well, in a way, it's the two sides of the same thing, right?
Yep.
It's more work, but more fun.
But more fun.
Sidd, well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thanks for having me.
And for all of you looking this, you can also read a transcript of the interview and read the full report, and it's available at senseofhealy.com. Thank you.